The silent war inside your mind, and how ancient wisdom can help you win. Let me ask you something real quick. When was the last time you felt truly in control? Not fake control. Not scrolling through your phone pretending everything's fine control. But actual, deep down, unshakable control over your thoughts, your reactions, your life. Here's what nobody wants to admit. Most of us are drowning. We're exhausted from doing nothing. Anxious about everything. Stuck watching other people win while we're frozen, overthinking, waiting for the right moment that never comes. We know what we should do, but we don't do it. We know what's destroying us, but we keep going back to it. And every single night we lie in bed wondering why we feel so powerless. But here's the thing that'll blow your mind. This isn't new. This exact struggle? People have been fighting it for thousands of years, and some of them figured it out. Not self-help gurus selling courses. Not influencers with perfect lives. I'm talking about people who lived through actual hell. Wars, slavery, betrayal, death, and somehow stayed calm, focused, and powerful through all of it. There was this guy, right? A Roman emperor. The most powerful man on the planet at the time. He could have had anything, done anything. But instead of writing about his glory or his victories, he wrote private notes to himself. Notes that were never meant to be published. And in those notes, he said something that still hits different today. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about that for a second. The most powerful man alive wasn't trying to control the world. He was trying to control himself. Because he understood something most people never learn. External power means nothing if you wreak chaos on the inside. You can have money, status, followers, a perfect relationship, and still feel empty. Still feel weak. Still feel lost. So what I'm about to share with you isn't some feel-good motivation that wears off by tomorrow morning. This is battle-tested philosophy. Raw truth from people who had to be mentally tough or literally die. And if you actually apply these principles, not just nod along but genuinely integrate them, your life will change. Not because the world gets easier, but because you become harder to break. Before we dive in, I need you to do something. If you're serious, like actually serious about leveling up mentally, emotionally, spiritually, don't just passively watch this. Engage with it. When something hits you, drop a comment. When you feel resistance, that's probably the exact lesson you need most. And whatever you do, don't skip around looking for the good parts. Every single piece of this matters. Missing one could cost you the breakthrough you've been searching for. All right, let's get into it. The first truth, your enemy is comfort. We've been brainwashed. Seriously, everything around us screams the same message. Avoid discomfort at all costs. Feel bad? Here's a pill. Bored? Here's endless content. Lonely? Here's a screen full of strangers pretending to care. Tired? Skip the workout. Nervous? Cancel the plan. Sad? Numb it? But here's what they don't tell you. Every time you run from discomfort, you get weaker. Not physically, although that too. I'm talking about your mental strength. Your emotional resilience, your ability to handle life when it inevitably gets hard, because it will. Life doesn't care about your comfort zone. It's coming for you eventually, whether you're ready or not. Now think about this. When did you actually grow? When did you become stronger, wiser, more capable? Was it during the easy times? When everything was smooth and nothing challenged you? Or was it when life slapped you in the face and forced you to figure it out? Here's the brutal reality. Growth lives on the other side of discomfort. Not sometimes, always. The conversations you're avoiding? That's where your relationships either heal or end. The workouts you're skipping? That's where your discipline either strengthens or dies. That project you keep putting off? That's where your potential either awakens or stays buried forever. The ancient approach was radically different. These people didn't wait for life to punch them. They'd punch themselves first. Training. Preparation. They'd sleep on hard floors on purpose. Eat plain food when they could afford better. Wear old clothes. Walk barefoot in winter. And before you think they were just masochists, understand why. They were building immunity to suffering. So when real hardship showed up, and it always did, they weren't shocked. They were ready. One philosopher used to say, "Is this really what I was afraid of?" After voluntarily putting himself through discomfort. Because once you realize you can handle cold, hunger, exhaustion, boredom, rejection, all those things that feel unbearable, you stop being controlled by the fear of them. And that's freedom. Real freedom. Not the fake kind where you're comfortable, but terrified of losing that comfort. So here's what you do starting today. Pick one uncomfortable thing. Just one. Could be a cold shower. Could be having that difficult conversation you've been dodging. Could be sitting alone with your thoughts instead of immediately grabbing your phone. Do it. Not because it's fun, because it's training. You're not punishing yourself. You're preparing yourself. Because here's the truth bomb. The life you want requires a version of you that doesn't exist yet. And the only way to build that person is through voluntary discomfort. Small choices, daily battles. Tiny victories that stack up over time until you look back and realize you're not the same person anymore. You've been forged into something stronger. The second truth, your emotions are lying to you. Real talk. How many times have your emotions completely hijacked your day? Someone cuts you off in traffic, boom, you're angry for an hour. Someone says something slightly rude, suddenly your whole mood shifts. You feel lazy, so you skip everything important. You feel anxious, so you procrastinate. You feel hurt, so you lash out. We've all been there. But here's the uncomfortable question. Who's actually in control? You or your feelings? Because if a random stranger can ruin your peace with one comment, if one bad moment can destroy your entire day, if your emotions dictate whether or not you follow through on your goals, then you're not free. You're a puppet. And your emotions are pulling the strings. Let that sink in for a minute. Every time someone makes you angry, they own you in that moment. Every time fear stops you from taking action, it's the master and you're the servant. Every time you let your mood determine your behavior, you're basically announcing to the world, I have no self-control. Now, most people hear this and think it means you're supposed to become a robot. No feelings, no emotions, just cold logic. But that's not it at all. Emotions aren't bad. They're information. The problem is when you let them make your decisions for you. There's a massive difference between feeling something and being controlled by it. Think of it like this. Imagine you're the captain of a ship. Your emotions are passengers on that ship. They're loud, they're opinionated, they've got a lot to say about where you should go. But at the end of the day, you're the captain. You decide the direction. The passengers can scream all they want. Doesn't matter. You're steering. One guy who figured this out was literally a slave, chained, property, had nothing. And yet he became one of the most influential thinkers in history because he mastered this one principle. Nobody can disturb you without your permission. Nobody. That person who insulted you? They only have power if you give it to them. That situation that stressed you out? It only controls you if you let it. He wrote something wild. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. Read that again. The barista who messed up your order? If they can ruin your mood, they're your master. The internet troll? If they can make you spiral, they own you, your ex. If thinking about them still triggers you months later, they're still controlling you. And you handed them that power. But here's the flip side, the empowering part. You can take that power back right now. It's a choice. Not an easy one. But a choice nonetheless. Next time something triggers you, pause. Don't react, just observe. Interesting. I'm feeling anger right now. Why? Is this useful? Will reacting make anything better? That tiny gap between stimulus and response, that's where your freedom lives. People who master this become unstoppable. Not because nothing bothers them, but because they don't let what bothers them control their actions. They feel the anger and choose calm. They feel the fear and move forward anyway. They feel the sadness but don't let it define them. That's power, real power. The kind that can't be taken from you. The third truth, life doesn't owe you anything. This one's gonna sting. But it's necessary. Ready? Life is not fair. It never was. It never will be. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you stop wasting energy on anger, bitterness, and resentment. You've seen it, right? Good people suffering. Bad people winning. Hard-working people getting overlooked while lazy ones get promoted. Kind hearts getting broken. Honest people getting betrayed. Effort that goes unrewarded. Talent that goes unnoticed. Love that goes unreciprocated. And every time that same thought creeps in, this isn't fair. And you're right, it's not. But here's the brutal question. So what? What are you going to do about it? Complain? Give up? Wait for the universe to apologize and make things right? Because I've got news for you, the universe doesn't care. Life doesn't take attendance. Karma isn't some cosmic accountant making sure everything balances out. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. Sometimes evil wins, Sometimes effort fails. And this is where most people get stuck. They hold on to this idea that if they just do everything right, life will reward them. If they're good enough, kind enough, patient enough, eventually fairness will show up. But it doesn't, and while they're sitting there waiting, expecting, demanding fairness, life keeps moving. Opportunities pass, time runs out. And they're still stuck in the same spot, bitter about how unfair it all is. But here's what the wise ones understood. Expecting fairness is optional. Responding with strength is not. You don't get to control what life throws at you. You absolutely get to control what you do next. That's the game. That's the only game. The emperor who had everything, who could have demanded fairness from the entire world, wrote in his private notes, "Life is neither good nor bad. It simply is. Your judgments make it so, meaning the situation is neutral. Your interpretation is what causes the suffering. Not because the situation doesn't suck, some situations genuinely do, but because your interpretation determines whether you crumble or adapt. Let's get practical. Someone backstabs you at work. Unfair? Absolutely. Can you control that? Nope, but you can control your response. You can learn who to trust. You can improve your skills so you're irreplaceable. You can move to a better opportunity. You just got your heart broken. Unfair? Painfully so. Can you control them leaving? No, but you can control how you heal, what you learn, who you become after the pain. This isn't about becoming cold or heartless. It's about becoming powerful. Because the moment you stop waiting for life to treat you right, and start treating yourself right regardless of circumstances, you become dangerous. Not to others. To obstacles. To setbacks. To anything that tries to keep you down. Stop asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what am I going to do about it? Because fairness is a wish, response is a weapon. And the people who win in life aren't the ones who got dealt the best cards. They're the ones who played their hand the best. The fourth truth, control is an illusion, except where it isn't. Here's a thought experiment. Think about all the things stressing you out right now. Go ahead, make a mental list. Now, be brutally honest. How many of those things can you actually control, not influence? Not hope for, actually control. The number's probably pretty small, isn't it? Most of what we worry about falls into one of three categories. Things that already happened, things that might happen, or things other people think or do. And here's the kicker. You control exactly 0% of any of that. The past? Gone. Can't change it. The future? Hasn't happened. Can't predict it. Other people? They're going to do what they're going to do, and your anxiety about it changes nothing. So we spend our lives exhausting ourselves trying to control the uncontrollable. Trying to make people like us. Trying to predict outcomes. Trying to prevent every possible bad thing from happening. And then we wonder why we feel powerless, anxious, overwhelmed. Because we're pouring our energy into a million places where it doesn't actually matter. But here's the secret that changes everything. There's a tiny circle of things you absolutely, completely control. Your thoughts, your choices, your actions. Your responses, that's it, that's your kingdom. It's small, but it's yours. And when you pour all your energy into that circle instead of wasting it everywhere else, something magical happens. You become powerful. One teacher put it perfectly. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Simple sentence. Life-changing philosophy. Because once you internalize this, anxiety starts to fade. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop fighting battles you can't win. Can't control the weather? Don't stress about it. Control your preparation. Can't control the economy? Don't panic about it. Control your skills, your savings, your adaptability. Can't control if people like you? Stop obsessing. Control how you treat people, how you show up, how you respect yourself. Can't control the outcome? Stop fixating on it. Control your effort, your focus, your consistency. This isn't resignation. It's actually the opposite. It's taking back your power from all the places you gave it away. Every time you worry about something outside your control, you're giving away energy that could be used for something that actually matters. Every time you obsess over opinions, outcomes, or circumstances, you're weakening your grip on the only thing that's truly yours, your response. Here's a practice that'll change your life. Every time you feel stressed, stop and ask yourself, is this within my control? If yes, make a plan and act. If no, let it go. Sounds simple. It is simple, but it's not easy. Because we're addicted to worrying about things we can't change? We've been trained to care about everything. But caring about everything means mastering nothing. Imagine if you took all the energy you waste, worrying about the uncontrollable, and redirected it toward the things you can actually change. Your habits, your reactions, your discipline, your mindset. You'd become unstoppable. Not because you control everything, but because you've mastered yourself. And self-mastery? That's the only control that actually matters. The fifth truth. Comfort is a trap. Hardship is training. Let me paint you a picture. Most people today have never been truly uncomfortable. Never missed a meal they didn't choose to miss. Never been genuinely cold. Never sat with boredom for more than 30 seconds before grabbing their phone. Never experienced real hardship that wasn't immediately escapable with money or convenience. And on the surface, that sounds great, right? Who wants to suffer? But here's the dark side of endless comfort. When you never face difficulty, you never build the muscles to handle it. So when life inevitably gets hard, and trust me it will, you're completely unprepared. One setback, one loss, one unexpected challenge, and you shatter. Because you've been living in a padded room your whole life, and suddenly you're in a fight. The ancients knew this. They didn't wait for hardship to arrive. They invited it in. Controlled doses of discomfort, strategic suffering. Not because they were crazy, because they were smart. They understood that the only way to prepare for the storms of life was to create their own storms first. One philosopher would regularly practice poverty. He'd set aside days where he'd eat the cheapest food, wear the oldest clothes, sleep on the floor, and live as if he'd lost everything. And while he was doing it, he'd ask himself, is this really what I was afraid of? Because here's the thing, most of our fears are worse in imagination than reality. We avoid discomfort because we think it'll destroy us. But when we actually face it voluntarily, we realize we're stronger than we thought. Think about it. What happens to a muscle that's never challenged? It atrophies, gets weak, can't handle load. Your mental and emotional muscles work the same way. If you never challenge them, if you never voluntarily put yourself in difficult situations, they waste away. And then when real pressure comes, you don't have the strength to handle it. This is why people break down over small things. Why minor inconveniences feel like disasters. Why a little criticism feels like a catastrophe. Not because the situation is that bad, but because they have zero tolerance for discomfort. Their mental muscles are so weak that anything slightly hard feels impossible. But voluntary hardship changes you. When you choose discomfort, when you do the hard thing on purpose, you're sending a message to your brain. I can handle this. I'm stronger than my circumstances. Discomfort doesn't own me. And over time, that confidence builds, that resilience deepens. Until you reach a point where hardship doesn't scare you anymore. Because you've already been there. By choice. So what does this look like practically? Fast for 24 hours. Not because you have to, but to prove to yourself that you control your hunger, not the other way around. Take cold showers. Not because hot water's broken, but to practice doing what's hard when your body screams, no. Wake up early. Not because you have to, but to master the discipline of overriding comfort. Have difficult conversations. Not because you enjoy them, but to build courage. These aren't punishments. They're preparation. Because one day, life is going to demand more from you than you think you can give. It's going to push you further than feels possible. And when that day comes, you'll have two options: crumble or rise. And the people who rise, they're the ones who've been training in the dark. Choosing hardship. Building strength. Becoming unbreakable one uncomfortable choice at a time. The sixth truth. The outcome doesn't matter, the effort does. This one's counterintuitive. We live in a results-obsessed world. Followers, money, promotions, wins, status. Everything's about the outcome. And if you don't get the result you want, you're a failure. Right? Wrong. Dead wrong. Here's what that mindset does to you. It makes you fragile. Because outcomes? You don't control them. You can do everything right and still lose. You can work your ass off and still not get the promotion. You can create something brilliant and have nobody notice. You can love someone deeply and still get left. And if your entire worth is tied to results, then every loss destroys you. Every setback confirms your worst fear. You're not good enough. But here's the shift that changes everything. Detach from the outcome. Fall in love with the process. Because the process? That's yours. Nobody can take that from you. You can't control if your business succeeds, but you can control showing up every day to build it. You can't control if people like your art, but you can control making it with honesty. You can't control if you win, but you can control giving maximum effort. One of the wisest approaches ever written. Freedom is won by disregarding things beyond our control. Think about what that means. When you stop clinging to results, when you stop needing a specific outcome to feel worthy, you become free. Free from the pressure, free from the desperation, free from the devastation when things don't go your way. And here's the paradox. When you stop obsessing over outcomes, you often achieve better results. Because you're not desperate anymore. You're not tight, anxious, trying to force things. You're just executing. Trusting the process, doing the work for its own sake. And that energy, that confidence, people feel it. Opportunities respond to it. Success follows it. Let me ask you something. If you knew you'd fail, would you still do it? If nobody would see it, would you still create it? If you'd never get recognition, would you still put in the work? Because if the answer is no, then you're not doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it for